Welcome to Tamara Research Writing Guides. I'm Ada, your AI-supported instructor. In this video, we will learn an essential writing skill, writing a transition sentence. Subscribe now and never miss our writing guides. Transition sentences ensure a natural flow from one part of your paragraph to the next, so they enhance the coherence of your paper. They can either be a single word or a complete sentence. In this example, you're seeing a transition word, which is, on the other hand. It indicates that there is a contrary point coming up that argues video games are not a waste of time. However, this example shows a transition sentence. The last sentence of the first paragraph prepares the readers for the start of the next one, which argues the downsides of exercising, and which is also a perfect example of a transition sentence. Now that we know the two types of transitions, let's see how to use them to connect two paragraphs together. Here, your goal should be to indicate what is next on your paper with a few words or sentences. It is also a great idea to create a cause and effect relation between paragraphs. We have two different but great examples. The first one is connected to the previous paragraph as it mentions the benefits of technology. But this starts with the word however and continues by explaining the potential risks of advanced technologies. The second example, on the other hand, mentions what will be talked about in the following paragraph, which is the extreme weather systems in the region. Then we see that the writer expands on this issue after the transition sentence to ensure they are connected. Transitions are also used within paragraphs to guide your readers through the different ideas you talk about. So let's see how to do it. When using a transition phrase within a paragraph, you first need to start with something your readers already know about. Then, by the end of a sentence, introduce a new idea. Only after these, you can start another sentence with your new idea. This is called the known new contract in writing. We have the perfect example using this concept. As you can see, while the paragraph above doesn't have any transition sentences, the one below is very different. It starts with a transition word to refer back to the benefits of the internet, then another one, such as including, to expand on these benefits. And finally, at the end of the sentence, we see another perspective, which is the potential risks of the subject. Since the writer now knows about this idea, the writer continues by highlighting it. With the two types of transitions out of the way, let's see some transition phrases to choose the best when you need them. Since there are so many of them, we wanted to make it easier for you and divide them into categories so you know which one to use in different settings. Pause the video and take a look at the different transition words before we move on with more examples. Let's see some more examples of proper transitions in paragraphs to exercise what is a good transition and what is not. The first example here is a historical text talking about the French-British War. However, the paragraph above does not have a good flow and causes readers to get lost in the argument. But with the highlighted transition sentence, it becomes much easier to follow the flow of ideas. The next example talks about an event held by the Historical Society. The first text does not have a transition sentence, so we can't really understand when it highlights the bad experiences of the event. But in the second sentence, the writer first mentions the good parts and then uses the phrase "despite their efforts" to indicate that the criticism is coming up. Now that we understand how to write a great transition phrase, let's wrap it up by going over some transition best practices. When you want to connect ideas with great transition phrases, make sure to follow these tips. First of all, only use transitions for two different ideas. You don't need to connect the same topics as they are already coherent. Also, don't fill your paper with transition words when it is not necessary. Overuse of transitions will make your paper harder to read. Finally, never force two ideas together if they just don't make sense. If they are completely different, highlight one of the ideas somewhere else in the paragraph. With these tips, you should be ready to incorporate great transitions in your papers so readers easily understand what you're really talking about. That's all we have for today. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so you never miss our writing guides. I'm Ada from Tamara Research, and I'll see you in the next video.